Hello folks and modelers, I'm back for part 3 on the build of the USS Gerald from Magic Factory at 1/700 scale. So today I have a few things to cover, to talk about. So I think could be a bit long on the video, so I'll immediately get into this. So from 2 weeks ago, I have done a lot of touch-ups on all the overspray or underspray on all the areas of the deck, the hull, the island, and then after all the touch-ups have been done, I worked on railings. So I think I'll talk about the railings first. So let me zoom in here. So basically the hull has a lot of railings, and all these railings has been attached. And in fact I did do all railings for all these cavity areas here, and then on this sponson on the deck, and especially on this side there's a lot of railings, especially at these areas here. So these ones were a bit difficult. They are actually shaped in this kind of way, so not so easy to get that shape. And each of these areas here is having a different size, so I don't think you can make 4 of these and just attach. Basically each one has different dimensions. So this is how I've done it, and all these inner deck area here have been touched up, and down here on these areas all railings are attached, and then even all these smaller areas all here. So you know, this piece basically fell off, and it's a good thing that there is a railing there. So now it's actually sort of like held up by the railing instead of being glued here. So we got the railings all around the edge. And one thing to note is you know, for these decals you have to do these decals, caution decals, before railings are done, because the railings will sit on top of it. And same goes for these, because I have not done the railings here because I want the deck to be attached. Then I'll do that railing, because there are some overlap areas. So the overlap areas are basically on the bow area here. So one thing need to be a little bit careful is when you attach the railings, especially on this thing here, make sure the railing doesn't, you know, hit the catwalk. So I have placed that railing, especially these railings here, I have placed it on the outer edge instead of on top of the deck. So the railing will look actually a bit lower compared to like these railings here. These are sitting on that deck over there. So same goes for this side. And especially this area here for this sponson. There's quite a bit of overlap on the railings to the catwalk. In fact, when I first attached the railings, I had it all the way up to here, and same goes for this side, I think. So when I attach the deck, basically that part there, that inner part over there is actually hitting this thing here. So not sure if you can see that area there. So the railing can't go in all the way to the hull area. And initially when I did this area, I didn't have the decal on, and I did the railing for the entire edges here, but when I checked the photos, there are no railings here. I think that's because that's where some weapon will sit. I think this is probably that the MK-29, the missile, Sparrow missile, and this is probably a phalanx, I'm not too sure. So I cut off the railings over here, and then I applied the decals. And then for this particular railings here, it has to be cut off in an angle ways to fit the hull. And this one here was also too high if it's sitting on the deck, so I had to attach the railings on the edge of this deck here, instead of on top of this deck. So now basically it's not hitting the catwalk. Okay, so yeah, I think that's about the railings which I've done. And then okay, so before I go into the deck, I wanted to show you another thing, which is the hangar bay. So I've completed the hangar bay, and I've not glued the bulkhead. So this is how it looks like. I'll zoom in close so that you can take a good look. I've done a wash, but there's no other colors on it. It's just white, because I'm not sure what are there's probably some red, and some of these things are like red color or green, but I cannot tell, so I've left it just white. And I've done these caution strips. These are all hand painted, and I noticed that this curve area here is really thick. I don't think it's that thick on the real ship. So this is one area where it's just too thick for this 1/700 scale. So when this is added, okay, got it wrong. So when this is fitted in, by the way this thing fits in, there are some of these markers here, so it will fit in nicely to these. You won't have to worry about positioning of this this hangar bay. So if you just sort of move it, it will actually just pop into that position. So like I said, these two walls are just, you know, these curve areas are just too thick, I believe. But you know, unless you want to shave it off, I think it will be very challenging. So I'm not gonna be doing that. So that's on the hangar bay. And one note for people who are planning to do LED. I think there was one person who did mention he's gonna do LED. So let me try to give you a close-up here. It's gonna be a bit tough. So from my findings, the space that you have here is only about 1.5 to 2 millimeters of you know, the space between the top deck and this. And then there is this rib here, which is about 1.5 millimeters. So basically this kit is designed in a way that this deck here, they have this area here, which will actually sit exactly on these ribs. So that's another probably about a 0.5 millimeter down. So you will end up having that you know, that gap of about, if it's 2 millimeter down, 0.5, probably about 1 to 1.5 millimeters, which I think is really a small, you know, space if you plan to put those strip LEDs, which are quite thick in my experience. And you probably have to cut off these ribs, that kind of things will happen. So if you put LED, especially those strip LEDs, and I'm sure that LED will be higher than the, you know, that it's not gonna fit in there. So it will end up, the deck might actually curve up a little bit. That's what I'm thinking. So, you know, unless you plan to like drill all the holes and embed the LEDs inside to those holes, probably it could work. But otherwise, this space is just too thin for any LEDs to go in there. That's my, you know, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so that's about the hangar bay. I've talked about the railings, touch-ups. So now let's look at the deck here. So I've completed the deck and all the decals on the deck. And one thing I found about these decals, the Magic Factory decals, they are really precise and it fits to all these areas nicely. And they are also really fast to come out from the paper. Once dipped in the water, I think it takes about 5 seconds. It's really quick. And as you apply these decals, the decal does not elongate that much. I have experience with other brands, and basically when you're playing around, you know, trying to fit to, you know, trying to adjust it to this, to a straight line. Basically the the decal elongates a little bit, and then it goes out of place. So yeah, that's my opinion on the decals. They are really good. And when you're doing decals, it's better to really study this color guide first, because there are a lot of areas which are overlapping. And of course, unless you don't care which one comes on top, then it's okay. But if you look at this color guide, it will tell you which one comes on top. So I mean, in summary, the sequence wise, it's better to do all these big ones first, then the red and white, and then the yellow. Basically the yellow comes on top of a lot of other areas. Like this yellow comes on top of the white. And for these ones, it doesn't matter, because there are these openings, and in fact they were kind enough to like make this part open, so that you don't actually have to have two pieces. So there is a transparent portion here. And talking about the transparent portion, I did cut out some of the big areas. In fact, there was this whole thing was this number 78. This was in one piece of decal, so there was a transparent area here which I cut out. Somehow I have the habit of cutting out these transparent areas, and in fact all these areas here were having that transparent piece, so I did cut them out because I didn't want it to be sitting on top of this. And this one here, I tried to cut it out, but it has already dried up, and it was very difficult, so I left it that way. So yeah, it's up to you if you want to cut it out. If you don't cut out the transparent areas, yeah, this is the silvering thing that happens. It happens in some areas and doesn't. Probably some air bubbles, the voids gets caught up. I would like to cut this out, but I think I did this decal like maybe 1 or 2 days ago. So by this time, even if I cut it, I don't think I can. I have to scrape this out, which might damage the paint underneath it, so I'm not gonna do it. I think once I spray the overcoat, it should look okay. And okay, one thing to note is I painted these catapult lines. This is in steel color. But then later on, I realized that the decals are provided for the catapult lines. And I did stick one of these to, I think, one of the catapult lines here. But I have removed it because it didn't look good. In fact, this is like a royal navy color. So when I applied it, it made it look a bit like a toy. And in fact, it was very hard to get that middle line in there. It didn't want to sink in. The decal didn't want to sink into that middle line. So, I decided not to apply these decals on the catapult lines. You can try it, but I can tell you it doesn't look good. I don't know, when I look at the photos, it doesn't look like this color at all. So I'm not sure why this is provided, but even if this was the actual color for the catapult lines, on the model it doesn't look good, so I'm not gonna be applying that decal on the catapult line. So I'm gonna leave it in this steel color. And talking about the deck, I've painted these jet blast deflector hydraulic areas. So that required another hole masking for here and here. So I've done that, and I did apply a clear coat because I was gonna do the decals. So this is how it turned out. The decal, there was a, from this, I think you can tell there's tons of decals, but it was pretty quick because the decals were quite easy to apply. But for these, really thin yellow lines and the red and white strips, these were a bit difficult because they were so thin, and it will wiggle up the moment you apply it. So like I always do, I do a perspective view to make sure that the lines are straight. So I hope the lines are straight. There are certain areas where it doesn't look that straight, but I think for 1/700 scale this will do. And for a 1/700 scale, these decals were I think really detailed. And in fact, for 1/350 scale, I haven't seen that. There are even more, or maybe it's just for the USS Gerald. There are these kind of markings, which this is definitely these are the for helicopters, but there are these additional kind of white lines which I don't see on those older aircraft carriers like Enterprise or Kitty Hawk. Probably it's because this aircraft carrier is a new aircraft carrier, and these yellow lines, so there's a lot of lines, and in fact this is the busiest line here, and I can show you here. If I add this deck in, it's a very busy, all the lines are overlapping, and I have not attached there's supposed to be another caution, I think it's probably these ones. I have not attached this to the deck yet. And one more thing here. So this decal is supposed to go on top of this. There is a piece of part that will go into this area here. So I think this is probably for that observation. There are crews inside to check, to check on the aircrafts taking off, I believe. So this decal, I don't know if you can see, there are these white lines here, and the yellow and red caution. So the yellow and red, I'm sure it will come to the deck down here, but this white one is it will probably sit on top of this thing. So I think this has to be cut out and have to be separate. So that's what I'm thinking. It is this thing here. I did paint this, but somehow I think the paint, I'll have to repaint this. So these are probably the windows, and there are crews sitting inside of the. So so I think this decal has to be cut up. This one. So yep, that's on the. I think that's all on the decals that I wanted to talk about. So that's how. Oh, by the way, yeah, like I said, I did say 2 weeks ago that I will try out this hanger bay. So now that I have this fit, basically the hull becomes a bit more sturdy, but still there is that, you know, that funny clipping sound when I push this in. So that is, yeah, that's still the, yeah, so the hull is still a little bit pushing inwards, I think. Yeah, but it does help to make the, you know, it you know, basically the top of the deck becomes quite firm, because without this hanger bay, it will sink in. The middle part of the deck will sink in, not too much, but a little bit, I think, because there's nothing holding it there. And I think the fit is better with the hanger bay fitted. So I will put the hanger bay in. But now I'm thinking if I can get away with the top deck not being glued to the hull. I know there is some gaps that can be seen, like I mentioned, like there. But it overall it doesn't look that bad. If you look at the front, there is this slight overfloat, and on this side here it's not too bad. So I think initially I will try not to glue this. I will add on all the railings, all the parts, and see how that works. So if I can get away, then I won't glue the deck, because I really don't want to. Nothing much can be seen from these door wells. You know, even if you do stuff inside there. So let's see what happens on that. And okay, before the video gets too long, this is the island. So I have assembled some of these parts here, you know, touched up all the paints on the overspray, underspray areas, attached decals. So, but there are still some parts to go, and after this I will have to do railings all around these decks here, a lot of railings, and also on the mast. So yeah, these island things are still quite a bit of a way to go. And this, for the phalanx, I have attached the decals. This will go to the, I think, the port side of the ship. So video's getting long. I'm gonna stop here. So I hope you like this update, and hopefully in a week or two I'll come back with another update. So until then, happy modeling, and cheers for now. Goodbye.